What's going on? And welcome to the Football World with Juice, back here for our Week 2 NFL recap for the 2023 season. In this, we're going to be going over Week 2 of this season, giving you my thoughts, my analysis, going through all the games I saw, what I liked, what I don't love, what I think is going to happen going forward, and ultimately what I believe might happen in Week 3 and beyond. That sounds good. Don't forget to like up the video. Of course, subscribe to the Football World with Juice for more NFL content just like this. And get in that comment section, fans. Let me know. Am I wrong? Am I right? How do you feel about your team so far this year? Let me know. Now, let's discuss. All right. Week 2 kicked off on Thursday night, featuring the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. That was a weird game to watch. Like, honestly, like this is a weird one to take stuff away from. But one thing I do want to say is I kind of think the Eagles now, like compared to last year, like we're the difference. Like this team is not the same as what it was last year. It is not quite the same. Like the new offensive scheme, because their offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, from here, is now in Indianapolis as the head coach. You can see change. Like it felt like last year they were beating teams simply through Jalen Hurts' mobility, the ability to get the ball in the hands of his playmakers, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They were great at executing situational football. I don't see that with this Eagles team this year. Like, I feel like now they're getting lucky. Like, they're a lucky 2-0 team that has played two teams that they should beat 100% of the time, and they almost lost both games. Like, they probably would have lost if Justin Jefferson doesn't fumble the ball when he's trying zone, reaching for the pylon. But I mean, and they got primetime Kirk Cousins on primetime. Like, I mean, and they still only won by like 6 or so. Like, they did cover, I believe. But like, honestly probably should have won that game looking back on it. So that this is kind of a typical defending NFC's championship year where like it's just they don't have it. Like, I think they'll still be a playoff team. I still think they're one of the best teams in the NFC, but like they're not as explosive as they were last year. And then on the Vikings side, I think their defense has played better this year. I think Brian Flores has improved the defense. I think that I still got questions about it, like especially in the secondary, because I don't think they can cover. They're not great at covering, especially when they play receivers like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Like, I mean, the Eagles did get some big explosive plays against your secondary. It wasn't a lot, but like it was a like that was all on them the game, aside from the Jefferson fumble and Kirk Cousins being primetime Kirk Cousins. And they're missing Dalvin Cook, I can tell. Like, I mean, Alexander Mattison, like, I'm sorry for like everything you heard from your fantasy owners, but like their run game, they can't run the ball this year. Their offensive line still is just bad. It's been bad the last 10 years. It was better last year, but like their offensive line is still a big question. So yeah, the Eagles won this game, but like I thought they got a little bit lucky. So that's my takeaway from this game. Now we move to the Sunday games. The first thing I want to say is about the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders went into Denver and trailed 21-3 during halfway through the game. And they came all the way back to win. And I think that this should show that because the Broncos were favored in this game. That was my best bet for this week. Washington will cover. I would take the points with Washington at least. I wasn't sure about who would win, who would lose, all that. But as long as Washington just gets solid quarterback play, honestly, they could be a dark horse NFC team. I would not be shocked at all about that. Brian Robinson, I told you he's gonna add some juice to that offense, especially in the run game. He and Antonio Gibson, that's a pretty underrated running back duo in my opinion, but he finally had his coming out party into the NFL. He had a couple good games last year, but this was by far his best game. Terry McLaurin continues to be super underrated. Curtis Samuel is a serviceable number 2 receiver. Jahan Dotson, I think, is on the verge of his breakout year. Sam Howell has played fine. He played great in this game. I like the new play calling from Eric Bieniemy. I think he's taken what went well in Kansas City for him in the Chiefs offense, and he's brought that to Washington. And don't sleep on the Commanders this year. The Bills game that they have this week, if they cover this game, which I think they could because the spread is ridiculous again because the media just loves the Bills and Vegas loves to pick them by 10 every week. But, dude, don't sleep on they got a good defense. They're a pretty good matchup for the Bills. They match up well with them. They can run the ball. They've got a not great but solid offensive line. They've got a good defense, especially up front, that can contain Josh Allen, keep him in the pocket. They can cover Diggs, I think. I think Washington is sneaky legit. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs this year. They probably will if they keep playing this way. But yeah, so there it is from the Washington side. From the Denver side, God, can we get off the Broncos hype train? I'm serious. Vegas. This is the second straight week that the Broncos have been favored by 3.5 or more. And they've lost both of them. Yeah, I get it. Sean Payton's there. Cool. He's one of the best coaches of all time. Sure. Russell Wilson. I get it. He might have great stats. He's washed. He's not what he used to be. He can't win games anymore. He's going to be that quarterback that can carry a bad roster to a lot of wins. The defense, overrated. Outside of Patrick Surtain, who else do they have? They're going to get toasted by Miami this week. Tyreek, shred them. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Sean Payton can fix this team, but I do not see it, man. I do not see it. Wide receivers, overrated. Run game, solid at best. Javonte Williams is offensive line, not great. I'm just saying that this team is not going anywhere, Vegas. I don't know why you're picking them to win by 3.5 every week. They've lost back-to-back games. I believe that. Let's check. Hold on. I believe they are underdogs this week against the Dolphins. Yeah, Dolphins by 6.5 right now. I think that's a fair spread, I think. But seriously, what is it that makes you think that this Broncos team is a dark horse contender in the because dude, they're not. I even called it this week. Even when they were beating Washington, I'm Washington's gonna come back and cover. Washington's going to come back and cover. Ding, ding, ding. I was correct. So, yeah, don't bet on the Broncos. That would be my best bet, my best betting advice for until they win a game at least, or until they cover a spread. So, yeah. Next up, I want to talk about the Giants-Cardinals game. I didn't really watch much of it, but I do want to say that I think that Arizona kind of forgot for like the first half or so that they're trying to get the first pick this year. And then reminded of that at halftime. That's what allowed the Giants to come back. Like I'll give the Giants credit, sure. But like I'm still not sold on them. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. They're not going to win enough games. Like they might be in it, sure, but like I don't know. They're a good team that can beat they're a good team that can beat the shit teams. It's that simple. Like they're a good team that isn't a good team. Like they're a good team that can't beat good teams. They're good at beating trash teams. So, yeah. Daniel Jones played his heart out. Give him credit there. Loss of Saquon's going to hurt. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm worried about the New York Giants for this whole year. They got smacked on Sunday Night Football a week ago by the Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk about the Cowboys later in the video, but yeah, I mean, I don't see this team going very far this year. I think they'll probably win like 5 to 7 games maybe or so. But yeah, depending on when Saquon comes back too. Next up, I want to talk about the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields versus the Buccaneers. The Bears ran the ball 17 times. 17 in this game against Tampa Bay. When you have Justin running back that throws the ball Fields. And the Bucs were all over him. Like, I mean, can we figure out that Justin Fields is not the answer? Like, I don't know how many times I need to say it. I don't know how many times he's got to struggle as a passer to make people think that he's not the answer. Like, why is this guy consistently a top 10 quarterback ranked by NFL Fantasy? Like, I don't understand it. But, man, I mean, they lost to Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. Think about that for a second. Just saying. They got to do going forward. DJ Moore, I'm sorry that you had to go in the trade. But yeah. Next up, I want to talk about the Green Bay Packers and the Atlanta Falcons. I think that Desmond Ridder still is a big question mark. I think that Bijan Robinson had his coming out party into the NFL, and there's a reason I drafted him 6th overall in one of my fantasy drafts. So, but yeah, no, he's a stud. He's going to be great in the NFL for a long time. Drake London finally had a catch. He had a good game, I believe. He scored a touchdown. I don't remember though. But yeah, so Kyle Pitts continues to be a question mark. We'll see how he turns out to be, but yeah, I mean, I think that's good enough. I think they'll win the NFC South, but like, I don't know. I have a lot of questions about Desmond Ridder. I like their roster though. I like their run game that they have. I like what they have around Desmond Ridder. I just don't think he is the guy. Like, but I mean, we'll see. I like Arthur Smith as a coach. I think he's done a good job coming up with these creative game plans for how to attack opposing defenses, how to run the ball. But yeah, like I could see this. I think this team will win the NFC South, but that's probably about their ceiling. For Green Bay, I honestly would not be that worried. Like Jordan Love has been pretty lights out for the most part. And in this game, he didn't have Bakhtiari, Aaron Jones, or Christian Watson, arguably the three best players on that offense. And they still won the first three quarters, and then they just kind of choked it at the end. But I like what I see so far. I think the Packers have struck gold again on their quarterback of the future. I like Jordan Love. I think he's going to be a good player in this league for a long time. But yeah, I mean, I think they've shown nothing but promise. Like, I mean, like they didn't have three of their best offensive players and still almost won this game this weekend. Like, I mean, how can you not be a fan of them? But yeah, so there it is for the Packers and the Falcons. I honestly think Green Bay probably should have won this game, but I'll give it to Atlanta. Credit there. But yeah. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about the biggest and most frustrating, awful team to watch in football right now. That is the LA Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, and Brandon Staley and his supposed amazing game management. Like, what? What? I mean, like, this guy's a defensive coach, and his defense is the worst defense in the National Football League, I think, right now. I think that's safe to say. Back-to-back weeks. Doesn't know that he needs to double-team Tyreek Hill in week 1. Week 2, you're playing one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And you let up 27 points against the Tennessee Titans. 27 points. I mean, come on, man. You're a defensive coach. Your offense is okay. It's carried by a great quarterback in Justin Herbert, who has been okay this year, but he hasn't looked like the $250 million guy that they just made him. So, I mean, like, I think Brandon Staley's got to be fired. I don't like his game management. I don't like his defensive scheme. I think it's too vanilla. Everybody's going to pick it up. I mean, like, the Titans didn't score a touchdown at all last week against the New Orleans Saints. They didn't score a touchdown, and you let them put up 27 points on your defense. A defense that's pretty talented on paper. I mean, I don't know. I think Staley's got to go. I don't like him as a coach. I think he has mismanaged way too many games for you guys. He's costed you some wins. He might have costed you the playoff game last year. He costed you a playoff trip in 2021. Like, I mean, like, come on, guys. It's time to move on and make a change. So there it is for me with the Chargers from this game. The Titans side, I mean, I've still got a lot of questions about Ryan Tannehill, that offensive line. Derrick Henry's a beast still. I think he's started to slow down a little bit with age, but DeAndre D-Hop had a nice game. Maybe it's possible this team plays well throughout the year and is able to upset Jacksonville for the division, but I don't know, man. I don't think Tannehill's there anymore. I don't think the offensive line is as good as it once was. The defense is great. I like the defense. I like Mike Vrabel as a coach. Like, I mean, I think the Titans will be in a lot of games. I just don't think they'll be able to win them because they don't really have the playmakers that can win them these games that they're going to and get them the plays they need to win. So, yeah, there it is for me with the Chargers and Titans. Next up, since I just mentioned the Jags, let's move on to the Jags and Chiefs game. This was a bad game, like a very bad game, like not at all what we'd anticipated between these two teams. I'm having a really hard time, like, figuring out what I think the Chiefs, like, I still think they're going to be fine. They're going to find a way. Andy Reid always does. Mahomes is there. He's the best quarterback in the league. Travis Kelce's, like, they were at full strength this week, but they didn't look that good. I mean, like, it could have also been, just guys coming off injuries. Chris Jones hadn't practiced at all. He missed all of training camp. But, like, this team needs a number two. Like, they need a number two target for when Travis Kelce is double teamed. Like, I feel like the only receiver on this roster that Mahomes trusts is Travis Kelce, and he's a tight end. But I mean, he's a different breed. So I mean, but they just don't have that number two option that they had last year in Juju. I mean, maybe there's that guy. Kadarius Toney had a better game today. He got out of his head and started playing some football. But I don't know. I feel like this team will still win the division, make the playoffs, all that. But I think I don't think they're going to repeat as Super Bowl champions. I really don't. I think they're also missing Eric Bieniemy a little bit as the OC because, I mean, we're seeing what he's doing in Washington now versus what Nagy has done with your offense. Andy Reid calls the plays and all that. And, I mean, I'm not saying that they won't evolve their offense and, come back to life, but I honestly think they probably will, but I don't know. I kind of feel like this team's going to be like an 11-6 team maybe and win the division this year. So yeah, there's my thoughts on the Chiefs. Now on the Jags, I kind of feel like they're just kind of starting slow a little bit. Like they didn't look overly great against Indy last week. I mean, a lot of people expected them to lose this game, expected them to start with that. But, like, I mean, Zay Jones had 2 catches in the end zone where he just couldn't get the feet down on both of them. And if he does get him down on one of them, it's a totally different game. Same thing with, I believe Calvin Ridley had one too. I still think the Jags will win the South. I think they're still going to break out this year. I like Calvin Ridley a lot. I think he's going to be just electrifying this year. I think he should win comeback player of the year, honestly. But yeah, like I still have their defense, but I'm not worried about Jacksonville yet. Doug Peterson, we've seen it in the past, especially with his Eagles teams, where they always started slow, but found a way to get into the playoffs. Play good football at the right time. I kind of feel like that same thing might happen with Jacksonville this year, but we'll see. So not like an overly great game, but like it was a defensive battle. There was a lot of good defense. I like the way the Chiefs defense has played. I do think the Jags defense is going to improve as the year goes on. Like I like some of their players. I have questions about others, but yeah, so there's my takeaway from the Kansas City Jacksonville game. Who should we do next? Let's do the Bills game. I'll just say a quick thing about that. The Bills are back. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are back. Jimmy G looked terrible in this game. I still think the Bills are kind of overrated, overlooked, overhyped, all that. Like I don't like they need like Gabe Davis had a good game, sure, but like he does this every year where he has a game where he goes off and then he's invisible for the next 6. And I think the same thing is going to happen going forward. Like this team needs is kind of like Kansas City. They need a number 2 target. Like in their defense, it's not bad, but like it did stuff the leading rusher in this game, which I thought was impressive. I believe Josh Jacobs had like 4 rushing yards or so. Like it was bad. The Raiders offense was terrible in this game. But I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like Buffalo, I still have questions about them. They can't stop the run, I don't think, on defense. I mean, like we say in fantasy, if your name is not Josh Allen or Stephon Diggs, I don't want you on my team, and I would stand by that right now. But yeah, that's my thought on Buffalo. Las Vegas, on the other hand, I think that this was just a Jimmy G bad game, and their defense still has holes on it. I don't think it's the worst in the league anymore, but like it's still probably a bottom 5 unit. But yeah, not much really to be said. They were missing Jacoby Myers in this game, which I think he probably, maybe he makes this game a little bit closer because he's able to Jimmy G that safety blanket for third downs. But yeah, I think the Bills are back right now. Imagine they'll fall back down to earth shortly, but yeah. Next, I want to talk about the Ravens-Bengals game. This is tough. Like, honestly, like, I'm not worried about Cincinnati yet. They usually start slow and finish strong. I think, honestly, they'll probably be 4-2 by their bye in week 6 because their schedule coming up is pretty weak. But Joe Burrow looked better in this game. Not great, but still better. I think he's still coming off that calf injury. But ultimately, I want to talk about the Ravens in this game. Like, I think they're that sleeper team in the AFC this year. Like, Zay Flowers is a stud. They actually have receivers now. J.K. Dobbins going down. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but we knew it was going to happen. I like their new offensive coordinator and their new offensive scheme where it's, less focused on Lamar and, less relying on Lamar to make all these plays, these big-time plays. And I just think Lamar Jackson is such a unique player. Like, his style of play is just like something we've seen before, like where he's a runner first, yeah, but I think he's a little bit better than Jalen Hurts, honestly, as a passer. Like, I don't know. I think Lamar gets too much hate for his ability to throw the ball because I think he's honestly just fine. Like, I mean, the stats show it too. But yeah, I mean, the Ravens, they got a good defense, an improved group of receivers, OBJ, Zay Flowers, Nelson Aguilar is a solid number 2, number 3 at times, although he does have the drops sometimes. But I mean, they got a great offensive line, as they typically do. Harbaugh's an excellent coach. All that. Like, I don't know. I think the Ravens are legit, like, sneakily. So yeah, there's my take on the Ravens-Bengals game. I think the Ravens should have won this game. They were the better team, I thought. We'll see what happens down the stretch, but I think the Ravens could honestly win. They could win the division. Like, this was a game they kind of had to win. If they won this game, they probably win the division unless Cincinnati gets them back in, what is it, like week 12, week 11, something like that when they play. It'll be in Baltimore, though, so. But, yeah. And my next game I want to get to is the Niners-Rams game. I thought that the Niners played lights out in the first half, but the Rams, man, they hung in there too. Like, Brock Purdy was dicing in the first half, and then the second half he missed some big throws. The Niners were still able to pull away, but the Rams, like, they continue to fight and play hard on McVay, and Matthew Stafford has been lights out this year. Like, I had a lot of questions about how their offensive line would be around him, and if Staff healthy all this year. But I mean, Puka Nacua looks to be a nice number 1 right now. He'll be the 2 when Cooper Kupp comes back. Tutu has been good. Skoranek has been all right. Like Kyron Williams has been a surprise. Like honestly, like if their defense plays a little bit better than they have, maybe they're like that sneaky, they're on the outside looking in, but they're sneaking into that 7th wild card, that last wild card spot. But I mean, if they stay healthy, they're a team like you don't want to play. You got to come to play against them because they will catch you napping, I feel like. And then the Niners, on the other hand, I think they're good. Like Kyle Shanahan is an absolute genius on offense as a coach. Brock Purdy, I mean, he didn't have his best half in the second half, but he was still pretty this game. Deebo Samuel's an animal. Ayuk is an animal, although let's hope he's okay and he's not out for a long time. Christian McCaffrey is back to typical McCaffrey. Yeah, I mean, that offense is hard to stop. They've got a lot of playmakers. They can beat you in so many different ways. I just kind of feel like this team could go to the Super Bowl. Like this team is a top 2 team in the NFC, which is going to bring me to my next matchup, which is the other top 2 team in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets. The Dallas Cowboys, listen, it's time to respect them a little bit. Like, they are as legit as any other contender is right now. They are. Their defense, best in the league. Their offense, at rate, but for the most part, they are a top 10 unit in the league. Dak Prescott was lights out in this game. If Dak continues to just play fine, like he managed the game against the Giants. He didn't have to do much because of his defense, but in this game, he diced up a top 5 defense in the National Football League in the New York Jets. The Cowboys defense once again looked unstoppable. I mean, like I know they were playing Zach Wilson, but still, they deserve some credit there. I love the way this Cowboys defense is playing, though. Micah Parsons, I think, should win Defensive Player of the Year right now. I mean, they can create takeaways. They can stop the run. They can get pressure on the quarterback. They can sack a quarterback. They can do anything on defense. CeeDee Lamb he was covered by Sauce Gardner. 112 yards, 11 catches. Like, I mean, Tony Pollard is a stud. The Cowboys' offensive line is as good as it always is. Like, I mean, like, this team is they might not have any holes. Like, honestly, like, I'm predicting it right now that it will be the Cowboys and the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. An old rivalry, but renewed. Like, honestly, like, I really, and I don't think that's an overreaction. I think this team is very real. They are very dangerous. They are easily a favorite to go to the Super Bowl, maybe win the Super Bowl, maybe, as long as they stay healthy and as long as they keep playing how they've been playing. So, yeah, that's my take on the Cowboys. I think this is the best Cowboys team that they've had since the 1990s as well. Like, again, like I don't think not much else needs to be said. We're going to go to Sunday Night Football now, where I was live streaming this game. My Patriots were playing on Sunday night versus the Miami Dolphins at home under the bright lights at Gillette Stadium. And, man, this one was a frustrating one. Like, this was frustrating. Like, officiating on both sides, awful. Awful, disgusting, every dirty word you want to use. They were awful. Awful, awful. I mean, there were multiple plays where the Jalen Waddle one, prime example. He was going for the ball, guys. Come on. It looked like on the last play of the game. it looked like they had the first down. Like there was no way they were going to reverse that. They found a way to. The interception on Devontae Parker, it looked like there was contact a little bit that pushed him out of bounds. Like, I mean, like Howard was turned around, yes, and I know Xavier Howard owns us too, but I mean, it just felt like there were a lot of penalties that did not get called on both sides, and there were a lot of penalties that shouldn't have been called that ultimately came back to haunt the Pats and the Dolphins a little bit, but I think it hurt the Pats more. I'm not. You can call me biased on that one, but I don't think that is a biased fact. But another thing with the Pats defense is they got to do better stopping the run. Better stopping the run, and on offense, they got to do a better job of running the football. Like, I mean, for the most part, they were fine against the run against the Dolphins this week, but like they just couldn't make that big stop when they needed to. Like the Raheem Mostert 50-yard touchdown, like that was the drive they needed to make a huge stop on, and they just couldn't. They did a great job against Tyreek Hill, like usual. I mean, like I've said before, don't be so high on Tyreek Hill when he's playing the Pats. They know how to defend him. I think that they were able to get pressure on Tua, but Tua just got the ball out quick, and they just executed some plays at the right time, and the Pats weren't able to. I mean, this is a continuous problem for the Pats these first 2 weeks. They just can't execute. I don't know why they're not handing the ball off to Ramondre Stevenson more. Zeke has done nothing so far. Like, I mean, like, I'm not worried about our team yet because we've played two very good teams that we weren't supposed to beat, and we still very easily could have and probably should have beaten them. But they should at least be 1-1 right now. Best 0-2 team, I think, in a long time and in the league right now. But, and like, I mean, the last time that they started 0-2, it was 2001, which, yeah, I know it was Tom Brady. But still, like, I mean, like, Belichick's not going to – this team's not going to unravel. This team's not going to give up. I think that this team – they got the bye week 7. If they're not 3-3 at the bye, that's a very bad sign. But I'd be if they were not 3-3 or better. And, I mean, I was born on the night of the Tuck Rule game, January of 2002. And that was the night that the dynasty supposedly happened. Like, it supposedly launched. It began the dynasty. I was basically born right Patriots dynasty. And I've just never lost hope in this team. I've never lost belief. I'm not giving up yet. This Jets game is very big though this week. Like, they have to win this game. Like, if they don't, then write them off completely. But it's a must-win for them this week. And they should be able to go in there and take care of business. I mean, they own Zach Wilson. Bill Belichick has coached circles around Robert Saleh the last couple of years. I think that's going to continue in this game. But, yeah. And for anyone that continues to hate on my guy, Mac Jones, like, you need to go to a doctor and be put on some drugs. Because Mac Jones, when you look at it closely, it is not at all him. It is not at all him that is led to this 0-2 start. It's that our offense can't block, and our young receivers either can't get their feet in bounds or something like that. But, like, don't sleep on this team yet. I think this team's going to come out next week playing hard, being motivated. They'll be motivated. They want to win this game to show that they're still here. And the Dolphins, I thought also, they escaped this game. I mean, like, the Pats got way too many. They passed on way too many opportunities, not allowed the Dolphins to win. But yeah, so that was Sunday Night Football. I'll give the Dolphins credit though; they had a great game plan. Daniel always seems to—he's one of the best offensive coaches in the league. I don't know why people don't talk about that at all, but or like at least talk about him and give him credit more than we do. But like, I mean, this guy. I mean, there's no other than maybe Kyle Shanahan where you have a running back tandem of what is it, Achane or something, and Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, like all these like unknown guys, and they're still able to have great rushing stats. They're able to find wide open holes on their offensive line. They're able to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, Tua and Jalen Waddle. Like, I mean, like this Dolphins team, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs again as long as Tua stays healthy. Their defense played better in this game. I will give them credit for that. But I mean, like Andrew Van Ginkel's breakout game, that was because he was matched up against Calvin Anderson. Practice squad offensive lineman. Like, I mean, like, I wouldn't get too high on the Dolphins just yet. I'm just saying. But if Tua continues to play okay, if he continues to play solid, this is dangerous, I think, going forward. So there's Sunday night. Now we're going to move on to the Monday night games. New Orleans and Carolina, I really didn't watch much of. Like, there wasn't really much to take away from that. I think that both teams are pretty mid, pretty eh. I'm not the biggest fan, but like, I'd say the Saints are probably like the more equipped because they have more experience and more depth, maybe I'd say, but I don't know. I also wouldn't. Bryce Young played better in this game, I think. He was bad under pressure, but he was good when he didn't have pressure on him. So, like, I don't know. Don't sleep on either of these teams, but, like, any of these NFC South teams could win the division. I honestly would not be shocked, but, like, both these teams I feel definitely could. But we're going with the Falcons. So that's all I really have to say about this game. Olave is a stud. The Saints defense is still a top 10 unit in the league. I still question them when it's mobile quarterbacks, but like they kept Bryce Young last night. He wasn't able to do much. So yeah, the final topic for this week is the second Monday night game last night. That was the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Mostly the Steelers because I got a lot to say about them. This Steelers team is bad. This Steelers team is bad. Like, there is no way around it. Like, I mean, yeah, they won this game. Congrats. They won the game because Deshaun Watson has not been playing well, and he fumbled the ball on, like, his own 10-yard line, and T.J. Watt was able to scoop and score. T.J. Watt clutching up, essentially. But the bottom line with the Steelers is they can't run the ball. Matt Canada's offensive scheme sucks. George Pickens can't get any separation. He's just a contested catch guy, although he did have a nice touchdown last night. But Kenny Pickett is he's not anything special, but maybe he could be elite. Maybe he could be great in the NFL, but he hasn't looked great this year. I mean, I know Mike Tomlin's history. I know that the Steelers do traditionally get lucky, but they're going to have to get very lucky to keep Mike Tomlin's success alive, get him another winning season, but I don't see it as this team. With Cleveland, Nick Chubb getting hurt, that's unfortunate. That was sad to watch. That injury looked gross. Let's hope he's okay and heals up nicely and he's able to return to the NFL next year. This defense of the Browns continues to dominate. But the pressure now is on Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's got to make plays for this team more than he was expecting to because no Nick Chubb. Jerome Ford, nice fill-in last night. Hopefully he can maintain this success for the rest of the year. Amari Cooper made some big catches last night. This Browns team's pretty complete, honestly. Can they maximize it is a big question. But they should have won this game. They totally should have won this game. So I don't really have much else to say other than they totally should have won this game. Their defense balled out. Their offense, it missed some big plays, but they still almost won them the game. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about this team. I think they could go to the playoffs, honestly. Their defense is very good. Their defensive line is awesome. I think Jim Schwartz has done a nice job fixing this defense, converting it from a bottom unit in the league last year to a top 10 unit by the end of this year. But yeah, so those are all my thoughts after this week. Thank you so much for tuning into the Football World with Juice today. Of course, get in that comment section, fans. Let me know what you guys think your team's going to be going forward. Subscribe to the Football World with Juice for more NFL content just like this. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.